Well, the Kentucky Farm Bureau just launched a Farmland Transition Initiative. Now, this is aiming to address the loss of farm acreage across their state by helping families find ways to keep their land in active production. President of the Kentucky Farm Bureau, Eddie Melton, joins us now for an update. Eddie, always a pleasure. And before we start talking about this initiative, how big of an issue is farm and acreage loss for Kentucky?
Well, we started talking about this initiative, Suzanne, back in December, and about the loss of farmland. And so we've been gathering stories from people and talking to people about this initiative. And then the Ag Census came out. And when the Ag Census came out, it only emphasized more of what the issue is. In the last 5 years with this census, we've lost about 6,500 farms and over 500,000 acres of farmland in just Kentucky. And in the last 20 years, we've lost 17,000 farms and 1.4 million acres. That's just not sustainable. If you do the math over that over a 60-year period of time, we're going to lose half of our farmers. And so we talk about this issue a lot, but we decided as a leadership team that we're going to take this initiative on and talk about it and see if we can do something about it.
Absolutely, Eddie. My gosh, that is just too much. And as I mentioned before we went to camera, we're seeing the same thing here in Tennessee, and I'm sure a lot of states across the country dealing with this. With this new Farmland Transition Initiative, the key word here, transition. So tell us how this is going to help farmers.
So our first thing is just an awareness and an education piece. We want people to know that this is a problem, that it's out there, that it's something we need to be talking about, and families need to be sitting down and talking about it. And if there is a transition that they have in place, we want to get that together and provide resources to people, whether they're attorneys or CPAs or folks that are out there that actually will share their story with us. You know, I've had a lot of people tell me their stories. We have one story here in Kentucky of a young couple that's actually farming now. But he went to work for a farmer, and as that farmer wanted to transition out of it, he made it available for that young farmer to be able to do that. So we need to hear those stories, because a lot of times we learn things from each other, and what one transition may work for someone, it may work for someone else. And then, of course, in Kentucky Farm Bureau fashion, we want to see if there's something policy-wise that we can do. Is there something that we can do to change and make policy easier to have a transition, to keep in active farmers' hands? And we're all about beginning and young farmers and making that transition, but also just getting that land into active farmers' hands, that it stays in production agriculture, because we can't sustain to keep losing farmland at the rate we are.
Wow, Eddie, so important. You mentioned education, resources, policy development. I know that you communicate with other farm bureaus in other states. Is this something that you're going to see, across the board? Are a lot of states adopting this kind of policy?
Well, we're going to start here in Kentucky and see where it takes us. We are looking at other states and things that have been going on. We have actually contacted all the commodity groups here in Kentucky, and we're going to ask them to join our network. We've got a website that's up. It's kyfarmlandtransition.com. It's up and live, and so we're going to be asking folks to join our network, because we all need to be in this together. If we're going to make something happen here, it's going to take everybody to make it happen, and the story will only grow. And so we're looking forward to people joining the network and joining in with us. And if there are other states that would like to talk to us about it, we're all about that too, because we can all learn from each other as we take this initiative on.
Absolutely. This is a nationwide problem, and like they say, strength in numbers. Hey, Eddie, before I let you go, how are conditions there in your state?
We've been getting a lot of rain the last 2 or 3 days here. March was really, we had a lot of field work that was done. There's been some planting done. I wouldn't be able to give you a percentage, but I know there's some planting been done. We have a few soybeans planted on our farm, not a lot, just getting things set. But there's been a lot of field work done, spraying, and so getting the wheat taken care of and all those things. So, but we're going to be out of the field for a while here in Kentucky because I think most of the state has had a significant amount of rain in the last 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, that's a problem for a lot of folks, for sure. Eddie, always a pleasure. Thank you so much, and thanks for all that you do. President of the Kentucky Farm Bureau, that is Eddie Melton.